Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Collective Awakening podcast. It's been a while since we spoke to everyone, so I hope everybody's doing really well. Chris and Stephen with you at the Purple Mountain Spiritual and Wellbeing Centre based here in the UK, and it's just lovely to be with you. And it's also amazing to invite our guest back once again, Jill Harrison, Angel Messenger, and anybody who watched our last podcast that we did with Jill. It was really wonderful and enlightening. That's still available if you want to watch what we'll call part one. And what we hope to do in this chat today is to delve in part two here as well and go a little bit deeper. And there's always more to know, always more to learn. So as always, we hope you enjoy what will be the next hour or so that we're going to have this chat. So Jill, welcome to the podcast once again. Thank you for being our guest.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
Okay, so just as we get started, and I feel it is a good place to start, about the importance at the moment of accepting angelic energies around us and guiding us. There's a lot going on in the world at the moment, to say the very least. I think the most balanced way I can put it is it's an interesting time to be on the earth plane for sure.
It is. It is. Yeah. Funny enough, I was having a conversation with a friend this morning, and I said, if you go back to 2012, where everybody thought it was going to be the end of the world or we were going to wake up on a new earth. Do you remember that?
Yes.
People talking about waking up and being on a new earth. I said, I wonder if we are on this new earth, because it seems completely different. It seems such an alien world to so many people these days. What if actually we have woken up and we are on a new earth? And he sort of looked at me and he said, "Oh, I don't like that idea." He said, because it's chaos at the moment. And I think that is the general consensus, that the world has gone mad. Yeah. And so anything that you can either use or cling to help keep your energies and your frequency, your vibration more positive, I feel is really important right now. Because if you look at the general consensus of the world, it is this mass hysteria of fear. You know, electricity prices are rising, climate's gone out of control, and we've got war, we've got famine, and it's becoming a constant bombardment where we're being told, you know, we can't do this, we can't do that, we've got more restrictions placed on us. And I think people are feeling squeezed. And what I've found with certainly my clients and the people that I teach and come across is, when you have a faith, be it in a religion or even just in yourself or in spirit, it's like an added, I want to say, a little jet pack on your back, that when you start to feel as though you're slumping, it sort of sputters and starts to lift you. It lifts you a little bit. It starts to come into life. So I feel it's really important right now, particularly for people who are wondering, you know, what the future holds for them, or whether or not they're going to make it to the end of the week, whether it's financially or emotionally. So I think it's really important right now that if you have something or someone that you can talk to and offload some of the issues that you have without judgment and anything, then the angels are really, for me, that's where they come in to play.
Yeah.
Because what I found as a constant, I mean, when I was growing up and I've worked with spirit, and I used to work with my spirit guide, I feel it was very hit and miss when I was younger. So I was never sure whether or not my spirit guide was giving me the right information. And sometimes I could connect with them, sometimes I couldn't. Whereas with angels, I found them are very much a constant. They're always there. The support.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is then, Jill?
Because probably I believe my belief in the angels was more stronger than the belief I had in my spirit guide.
Right. Okay.
I had a great trust in in the angelic realm than I did with the idea of there being a friend on the other side who was trying to guide me. And because as well, what was also confusing is your spirit guides change.
Yeah.
And so you'd get used to communicating one way with one spirit guide, but then whew, they've gone. You get someone else and you're thinking, oh, so then you've got to try and get used to how they work with you. Whereas with the angels, you don't have that. And you've got different angels, and each angel has like an archetype, so that if we need strength, for example, we can label and identify, oh, I need to go to Michael. If I need healing, oh, I need to go to Raphael or Uriel. So I feel with the angels, it's a little bit more easier because we've given angels these labels to try and make sense and understand the angelic realm. So I do feel that with the angels are like this conscious energy, so they can talk to us all the time. Whereas with your spirit guide, you tend to sit most of the time and have to go into meditation and communicate. But I found the good thing with angels is their response is immediate.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, you might be asking a question and thinking, well, are you really there? Are you really supporting me? And within a split second, you know, you suddenly see white feathers in front of you and you think, okay, I got that message. Yes, thank you. So they're constantly bringing things and using synchronicity, whether it's changes in temperature. There's lots of different signs your angels are around you. So once you start to get aware, I feel again that lifts and supports you.
Wow.
So Jill, I was going to ask. Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask you just very, very quickly there. Something that me and Chris strongly believe that, you know, when working with spirit or having that relationship, you do have to have 100% trust in, and if there's any doubt there, that communication can be broken because it's so fine. But talking about angels there, so you talk about the consciousness of the angelic realm. What is the angelic realm then? So if we're coming from sort of a foundation, what is it? What is this?
Okay. Well, I'm very different to most people. Having been a trans channel for the angelic realm for such a long time now, the way I always come back to everything is energy.
Yes.
And so they're this phylum of energy that effectively it's an energy. They don't have physical bodies per se. So they're not like if you were in spirit side, you wouldn't be seeing these beings with the wings drifting about and things. It is an energy source of superior intelligence, superior wisdom, and it is a very strong energy. So the angels describe themselves as they are ethereal matter, an ethereal energy, which means, in other words, they're very light, they're airy, they're not the energy can feel delicate, but at the same time there's a strength to that, and that means they can condense their energies down and appear human-like or appear solid, but they can also change their vibration so that they're more ethereal. And what they'll do is they act as intermediaries, because we can only raise our vibration in the physical world so far.
Yeah.
And then you've got some really higher realm energy sources. They can only come down so far. So the angels sort of fill that void, which enables us effectively to have a conscious link. So the angels say, if you think of it as a plant, if we were the roots and the flower at the top was God light, the one conscious energy, they're the plant stem with the leaves. There's various levels.
Yeah.
And they bring this energy through, and they bring this connection for us. And to try and explain that was really difficult when man first started to be aware of the angelic energies. So and because we need to label things, what happened is it got put down, like in the Bible, as there being sort of 9 orders of angels.
Yeah.
But Metatron's always said to me that when you do that, you limit the understanding of the function of the spirit world, of our angels. But it does help maybe humanity have a little bit better idea, rather than just always be going to one particular angel, which it doesn't matter, you can do if that's what you prefer. But there's like these billions of angels that you can work with. So if you want to go with the seraphim, if you need to balance your life, if it's out of balance, the seraphim tend to balance the energies within the multiverse, the universes, the stars, and how planets rotate. And so if you work with the seraphim, they're really good helping you balance your life. Also, as well, if you're into sound therapy, it's the seraph that will help you with sound healing as well.
Wow, amazing.
Whereas you've got, then under that, you've got the cherubs. Now, we always think of the little cute little cherubs with the cupid bows and things, but they actually are the record keepers of everything that's going off. And they manage, you may have heard people talk about the tapestry of light, and we're all threads of light.
Yes, very much so.
So
Yeah,
they're very much the weavers. They keep the tapestry, the matrix, and make sure it's all aligning okay. And then you've got the thrones. Now, they are guardians. They look after particular planets in our universe and other universes, galaxies. So they, again, are watching over and making sure if there's an energy deficit, that the energies are balanced again. So that all the time it's like this dance that's happening in the out in the cosmos. Dominations work with leaders, governments. They try to make sure that ethics and balance are taken to order. So if you are someone who has to control a lot of people, or you're in charge of companies, working with the domination angels is really good, because they help you maintain an ethical balance, if that makes sense.
yeah.
And then if you want to work with virtues are people who angels who tend to want to support those people who are really in need of help. So if you're praying for a miracle, for example, or you need a blessing, then working with the virtues is good, because they've got specialist knowledge on helping and bringing you the things that you need. You've got the powers. These were effectively the first angels, believe it or not, that were created, because their role is to protect souls. The powers are the keepers of the Akashic records. They work closely with the cherubim. And so every single thought or action in a soul's evolutionary journey, the powers are taking that experience so that it feeds into the collective whole, if that makes sense. Then you've got principalities. The principalities are angels who look after nations and inhabited planets and cities. If you work and you want to bring together, for example, a healing group, or you want to bring together a spiritual group, calling in the principality angels to hold the light, to hold the energy for the group, is really good, rather than just, calling in, for example, Archangel Metatron. You've got your archangels, which tend to be the only archangels that people think of, and then you've got guardian angels. And there's a lot of disparity in when you read things about angels. A lot of it is taken, and it's sort of the blind leading the blind, if that makes sense, because there's biblical references, and then there's what someone else may have thrown in. But within the structure of the archangels, you've got hundreds of archangels, but we tend to think of, the Bible states there's only Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, but there's Shamuel, there's Jophiel, there's Hanuel, there's even Lucifer. There's Archangel Metatron. We can come back to Lucifer later, because I know you wanted to do that. Archangel Metatron isn't really well known by many humans. who aren't really into angels. But when I've channeled Archangel Metatron, when he first introduced himself, he is I am that I am, which is ancient English for I will be what I will be, because I'm creative energy. I'm constantly changing and forming. He talks about being the soul of the Elohim, the will of the creator, but he's also the vein, the capillary that connects us to the creator, because Metatron is the only archangel whose name is after God. If you look at Michael, where it's EAL, or Shamuel, it's of God. So it's that one conscious connection. And the thing with Metatron's always taught me is all angels are intermediary, but in the angelic realm, no angel is higher or lower than any other. They're this collective energy that can work singularly, but also work collectively. And there's no difference. The only one that is different is Metatron, because he is the capillary, effectively. He's the one conscious connection to the source of creation.
Yeah.
And if I was to try and describe an angel, when you are in the presence of an angel, all you feel is just this divine love. And if you're lucky, you can see that light, you can feel the energy. It's all encompassing. And there's nothing like it ever that I could ever say I could liken it to on the earth plane. And the only purpose, because I once asked Metatron, well, what is the purpose of angels? And they're here to serve humanity, because we came here to learn. We came here when we're in the spirit realm, we learn a lot. But it's like learning from a book. We have to come and have the experience to fully understand it and know it.
Very true. Yeah.
So they sort of protect the school, if you want. They're like guardians of this school, guardians of planet Earth, because I can read and talk to you about what an orange is, but if you've never had an orange and you've never felt it, touched it, tasted it, smelt it, you've got an idea of what it is, but you haven't had the experience. So this is why souls come to Earth. They come to experience. They come to experience choice, to see polarities, differences, and to be able to choose and then learn how that choice affects the whole tapestry of life. So as we're doing that, to make sure that we don't sort of all go off at one end and it becomes imbalanced, the angelic energies are there to hold the cosmic working, make sure everything's right, and they'll balance to keep it in balance, because everything has to be balanced. And so that is effectively what angels are.
I was going to touch upon just a very wee question there.
Yeah.
And it's something that I asked with my little, because you've got the logical mind that comes in. And what I was quite confused about a very long time ago, and it might be interesting to people that are listening to this podcast, is how can Archangel Michael be with me today at the same time if somebody else across the world's asking for him as well? So how does it work on the energy side? Can Gabriel Michael be at two places at the same time?
Yes, it can, because we've got to remember time doesn't exist in spirit realm, and time is cylindrical. And so as energy, we've got this flow of energy. There's no end, there's no beginning. So it is everywhere. So the essence of Michael is in every molecule of air that you're breathing. It's even within you. That energy is within you. And this is one of the things that used to irritate me when I first started channeling the angels, because you would read angel books and it would say, oh, the best time to pray or invoke Michael is this particular time of the day. which is absolute rubbish because time doesn't exist in the spirit realm. And there is no limitations. It's really difficult because if you think about it, mankind, we have to label, we have to categorize in order to understand or comprehend things. But when you label something, you limit it. So if you're thinking of Michael as a being, as a person, then you are going to struggle to think, well, if he's with me, he's not with anybody else.
Very true.
But if it is a source of energy which makes up part of the atmosphere, then it's everywhere.
Very simple, isn't it? Very simple.
Think about it, because it's conscious energy. So it doesn't matter who's asking, how many times you're asking. And there are also as well all the other angels that work with Michael. So they're still working on that same energy level. They can still come. So Metatron's always said to me, you have to always think, if you're working with angels, always think about the source. Where's the source of information coming from? And when you're getting the information, or you feel you're getting that answer, if it's in alignment with you, your energies expand. But if you're hearing something, or you get something but your energies contract, then that is the way in which you would know whether or not you're directly connected with spirit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very simple. Yeah, very good.
Sometimes I say, are you there, Michael? And as soon as I say that, I can feel an expansion. I know, straight up the back of my neck, I can feel that expansion. I can feel the presence. Whereas if I was to say, is my Uncle Arthur here, I don't really get anything, because I don't have an Uncle Arthur, if that makes sense. So it's just learning to have that awareness. And I think as well, when you're wanting to talk to angels, we send things out, or we ask for things, but we don't make time to sit and receive.
Yes,
very true. It's like we send an order out. Oh, Michael, help me get that job tomorrow. But we don't sit and you say to Michael, is it in my best interest for me to actually take this job if it's offered to me tomorrow? Because you might be asking for a job, but it may not be right for you. Yeah. So I always, if I'm asking the angels, I always ask, will you help me tomorrow to understand whether or not it's in the best interest for me? And can you give me an indication of how things may go for me? And sometimes, you may feel that you get a sense of, well, you may need to work a bit harder, or sometimes you may feel you're not prepared enough. They'll give you an awareness sometimes. I'm lucky because I talk to angels and I can hear them. So I don't have to necessarily wait always for an energy. Sometimes, Metatron will just say, don't worry, but you need to do this, or you need to do that. If you work, it's like any relationship. For a relationship to work, you have to keep communicating. You have to keep making the effort. I mean, if I wanted to be your friend, it's pointless me ringing you once a year just to see how you're doing and then say, oh, we're good friends. You have to make, it's a relationship, and any relationship you have to work at it for it to be how
we call it, Jill, living the practice. You got to live the practice. You've got to trust and devote your time, and it's if that's something that people want to do, and that's with any kind of spiritual work, you've got to devote your time. And that's where, unfortunately, in the movement, there is, doing a week course, and I think they could, it takes time, it takes dedication, love, commitment.
Yeah. Just to allow yourself that time to sit. But I just wanted to chip in there because there's so many great points you've shared, and I feel the one that's particularly poignant, that can reach out to everyone at the minute, perhaps asking the question, why on earth am I on this earth plane at this moment in time?
Yeah.
A lot of people will be asking that. And I feel actually that the reasoning of us being here, and if we can understand and accept part of that, I really feel it can help a lot of people at this moment in time. And it's interesting what you said about experiencing firsthand on the earth plane, because that was one of the first bits of knowledge that was passed to myself and Stephen from Spirit many years ago in Circle, and it was
Yeah.
explained to us if you'd never driven a car on the earth plane in the times you'd live in, and you were explaining to someone else in Spirit what it's like to drive a car, and you could talk to them about it,
Yeah.
but nothing beats the first hand actual doing,
It
and that's why
doesn't.
we come back.
But did you know what's really, I mean, in one of the books of our books, Conversations with Angels, Archangels, I once channeled an entity, a being from a different star seed race. And they were really excited because it was the first time they'd ever been able to communicate to a human. But they weren't aware of what life was like on Earth, and they didn't understand a lot of the things. And it was really difficult for me to try to explain what things were, because they weren't able to comprehend it. And I found it so difficult to try and explain something, because they had no perception or awareness of, for example, what a television was, or what a car might be. Just as an example, well, what do you mean by that? What is that? But that's another story. But going back to the angels, I think one of the problems most people have when they're starting out, whether that's to work with their spirit guide or with an angel, is they're wondering, what the main thing I often get from my students is, how do I know if it's me or if it's my angels or spirit or my spirit guide? And I just think I'm making it up all the time. But what I got from Metatron is, when you're working with spirit, when you're working with angels, there is a presence. You can feel a presence. And the imagination is the door between this world and spirit. Because we're so logical, and the earth plane's energies are so heavy, negative, critical, analytical, it's the only way in which you can bypass the logical mind. So if you say if you're doing a meditation, say, I want you to imagine you're walking in a garden, your logical mind is able to say, oh, it's okay, I'm going to let you just get on with it because you're imagining. Whereas if you start to tell yourself you're walking in a garden, your logic mind's saying, no, you're not. No, you're not. So it's a good way. And when we're using our imagination, there's no limit to our ability to see things or hear things. So this is why we have the imagination. It's the easiest way for an angel to drop an idea out of the blue into you and communicate it to you. When you've got angels around you, the other things you can get with them is a change in temperature. Yeah. So sometimes you might feel a rush of warm air or cool air, depending. The seraph tend to be really cold energy, and then your other angels tend to be quite warm. Sometimes you'll get goosebumps or tingling, and what that is when spirit, your angels, have stepped into your aura.
Oh, I get that all the time, Jill. Yeah. It's like on my spine. Yeah,
it's like somebody stroking your aura.
Yeah,
and so you get all these goosey bumps. The other thing sometimes, particularly if you're emotionally upset, or you're having a really bad time and you're trying to explain to your angels and you're talking about what's going wrong, even if you're crying, sometimes what you'll get is what I call spider's webs. It's as though you've got a spider's web on your face.
Yeah.
And normally when we're crying, often your angels, that they try and come and hold your face just to make you aware, and they're trying to infuse into you their love. So it's their way of saying, you know, I'm here, I see you, I feel you.
Wow.
So what they do, and when you're trying to communicate with angels, sometimes as well, what you can get is you get twinkly coloured lights, sort of just in the peripheral vision. I often get people who will email me saying, I keep saying this blue light, this electric blue light, and that's Michael's energies that they're seeing. So when they're seeing that, I normally say, well, what was happening at that time? Were you unsure about something? Were you in fear, or were you anxious about something? Yes, I was. And so Michael and his angels, which come through on the blue ray, you tend to get the blue lights. Not many people hear angels sing, but sometimes you can get singing. You may hear singing if you're clairaudient. And then sometimes as well, you can have a complete change of emotion. So you may feel quite overwhelmed all of a sudden, because when your angels are near you, there's such love, there's such compassion. It's like it sort of swells up in you like a wave. It's really difficult to explain. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then we've got the proverbial little white feathers. I know where, funny enough, when Glenn was dying, he'd been in the hospice, and we brought him home so that he could pass at home. And the day he was coming home, I did a video. I walked into the back garden, and the whole back garden was covered in white feathers. There wasn't enough birds in the sky to fill my back lawn with feathers, and I had a huge garden. We had just under 2 acres of garden, and the whole lot of it was filled with white feathers everywhere. So that is a good way. Angels will leave feathers in the most unexpected places. I've been sat in a doctor's waiting for tests to see if I'd got cancer and thinking, am I going to be all right? Am I going to be all right? And then I look, and at the side of me, there wasn't anything there before. There's a white feather immediately there. So that's a really good common one. And sometimes they will visit you. You can sometimes get angels who visit you in your sleep state, because it's easier for them to communicate with you in your sleep state, because your critical mind is shut off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. What would be interesting, I know you mentioned Archangel Michael specifically. Are there any other specific ways he can come around? And what is his, I don't know how to put this, I suppose I want to say role. That's the best way I can put it.
Well, again, if you think about an energy, it doesn't really have a role. But what we've done is we've created an archetype to help us identify.
Yeah.
Because if we all had the same characteristics, then there would be nothing to set us apart. So what we've done is we've created this archetype. So if we look at, let's say, Michael, okay, when you're working and connecting with Michael's energies, Archangel Michael energies bring in this sense of support, this strength. And I feel, and it's my belief, it is just my views and opinions of working with Michael, that is why we have associated Michael, and why we've had images in Renaissance art painting Archangel Michael with a sword, battling evil, and fighting demons and carrying the scales of justice. So when you associate sword and scales of justice, then that brings in things like, well, Michael must, of course, then deal with law. Michael must deal with things like injustice. He's here to fix things. But as with all angels, it's about standing in your truth. It's about being 100% responsible for your choices, and then looking at what you can learn from that. So you can work with Michael if we don't have courage, if we lack belief in ourselves. It helps us, give us a, like some people look to celebrities. I want to be like that person. I think it gives us a framework of what we can achieve or be or embody. So I prefer to think of Archangel Michael as a set of qualities that we would want to embody, more as
that's
opposed to a man with a sword. And I always questioned, even, I mean, I got thrown out of Sunday school when I was young. I don't know if I discussed this in the previous one. So, why would Michael need a sword? He's one of the most powerful angels, and he's just got to, with his energies, change the frequency to be able to alter what someone can and can't do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I always wonder, why would he need a sword?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen the monks who, using either just their voice, can stop somebody running at them and flip them off their feet. That's like using their energies. And I've always seen, I've never seen an angel carrying a sword. I've never seen Michael carrying a sword. So that's why it's always stuck with me. I mean, we also, one of the other things we get with the scales is we're told Michael is the weigher of souls. No, he isn't. When we pass into spirit world, we're our own judge. We review what we've done, and we look at, oh yeah, I didn't quite get that right. Yeah, I missed that experience. I need to go back and do that next time. Because there's not this judgment. We haven't got Michael who's going to be judging you, and Gabriel deciding whether or not you're going to get, they're going to give you mercy. It's about having the experience and using that. So Michael for me is, what qualities do I want to imbue? Because we can all imbue nice qualities, or we can be not so nice. And that's where our free will, our choice, and the experience of what we're creating for ourselves in the world comes from.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's almost, in a way, like their energy is brought forward as almost like a mirror to show us who we truly are, what we embody as well.
Well, if you look, we tend to be drawn to idols or types of angels for things we feel that we lack. So if you want to be strong, you can even see it in relationships. Someone might go in a relationship with somebody who's really strong because in their subconscious mind, they're thinking, well, if I'm with that person, I'll become more like that person, or they'll protect me. And so for me, Michael is about helping you find and recognize the strength within yourself. And realistically, with Michael's energies, when you look at how far you've come in your life and everything that you've gone through, you're still here. So that must account for something. You must have strength in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been here. You'd have given up years ago. And so it's I think Michael's energies help you recognize the strength that's within you. It brings you the belief. It helps you find the motivation, and it gives you the strength to get up again and say, do you know what? I may have been knocked on my backside, but it's not going to define me. I'm going to get up again. And so that's what I like about the angelic energies, because I can call in, if I'm feeling, for example, a little bit lonely and sad that my husband's no longer with me, I can call in Samuel, and I can already sense and feel the love of spirit. And then I don't feel so lonely. I don't
Yeah.
feel so so sad. So we can call in those energies, because those energies then blend with our energies, which then changes our vibration, which then brings in those qualities to us. So that is, if try and think of your angels as top up energies, the things that
Yeah.
perhaps you would like to have.
Yeah, it's really amazing that, and I always feel it's a wonderful message for anyone that no one is ever on their own. And that's a lovely way you put it there. My
Yeah.
next question was going to be, which you've kind of gone into, I feel, about how your advice for those out there for overcoming life lessons, not overcoming fear, sorry, and
Fear.
understanding life lessons.
Right. Okay. Well, the first thing that we all have fears. We
Yeah,
all have our insecurities. But Metatron said to me, fear is only an experience you haven't had. And once you've experienced it, you'll no longer fear it, because you'll know it. So fear is only a lack of experience in something. So if you want to overcome your fear, then experience it. That way, then once you know it, it no longer has any power over you. And it takes some. I mean, if you look at the number, I think the number one fear for most people is public speaking.
yeah.
If you take the average person and say, "Oh, just come with me," and take them into the Albert Hall and walk them on the stage and say, "Right, I want you to just introduce yourself," and they die. Because there's this fear of rejection. We all have a fear of rejection. We all have a fear of not fitting in, and a fear of not being good enough. And I think it's that, if we could address that in schools, rather than, oh, you need to learn, ratios in maths and you need to learn about Jane Austen in English, I feel that we should be bringing children and giving them the foundation of self-love, confidence. If they have that as their starting block, then a lot of the problems that we have and our inability to cope with life would be radically changed. But trying to get an establishment that's already deeply rooted in, this is how it's been and this is how it's going to be, to completely saying it's not working, let's try something new, is probably a long shot. But certainly for me, you if you look at your fear, it's only because you haven't experienced it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So, Stephen, have you got any questions? We don't
About
like you
300. I got about 300 questions. So I think I need a 1-to-1 5-hour session with you, Jill.
Oh, all right, then I'll
have to do it.
My question.
A marathon one time.
Yeah, my question is maybe not be a simple question, but there's a lot happening on the conscious level as a collective race. I think we can all agree with that at the moment. There's a lot happening. And in my own personal experience, when we talk about the polarities of light and dark or light and shade, that I feel that if the creators created light, then the creators also created the dark in some way. Because I feel that, there has been a lot going on the past 3 years, but then I see it also as a positive, because people play as they reincarnate on the earth. We all play a certain role as part of our divine purpose, part of our choice. And that certain people play these roles that become these politicians. And I find that people play these roles to awaken humanity more. And for me, so many people the past 3 years have woken up, maybe ignorantly to a degree, have woken up consciously, where they've begun questioning about life and death, and started to move away from distortions and illusions. So do you feel that when we're talking about the fears there, Jill, do you feel that the angels are sort of, the angels can't come in and rescue humanity? They can't do that. But what they can do is they can lift the mirror up and say, not just as an individual soul, but as a collective soul, look, guys and girls, we're here to help you, but I'm here picking the mirror up. What you want to change, but you have to change yourself first. Yeah. So do you feel that the role for angels are changing because humanity is ready to take that next step consciously?
The one thing you have to remember with angels is, just like everything that's created, it is always transforming, it's growing. Yes. It has to grow. So the role and the way in which angelic energies work will be changing. It has to.
Yes.
Because that is evolution and involution. I feel at this time, what tends to happen is dark's dark, light's light. It's neither good nor bad.
True.
It's the labels. You know, there aren't these evil spirits about. That it's what you focus on is what you are manifesting and bringing into your energies. So it's really for you. So if someone, for example, if you're with somebody who is, let's say, a pathological liar and is continually causing you a lot of pain, you can take what I call this role where we look to someone else to come and sort it.
Yeah.
So and this, I feel the problem that humanity has as a whole is we have this belief pattern that we are helpless and it's hopeless, that we cannot change what is.
Yes, very victim mentality, that victim state. Yeah,
and the problem, if we're going to go with governments, as you mentioned, okay, the governments were brought in to govern, but the governments have now become like nannies, and everyone looks to them. We haven't got enough money, you should give us money. You know, you should do something about this. But if everybody collectively came together and said no more, for example, why do I have to pay to live on planet Earth? See what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. Why do I have to pay for natural resources that are God-given, such as water? And if we all work together collectively, we all play our part, then realistically, there is no need to be saying, you know, your electric's going up, because it all feeds the whole. But
very true. Yeah.
Because everybody's being told a lot of things that keep people scared. And don't book the system, and things are put into place now. I mean, me personally, I've been on about this for a number of years, how bit by bit the freedom of speech has been taken away. As an example, I went to put a post on my private group. I have a private angel group for people who want a safe place away from ridicule of other friends and things, from where they want to talk about angels and ask questions about angels. And I put a channeling on from Ascended Master Lord Sananda, and Facebook refused it, saying it was not allowed, because it appeared as though I was doing it to get likes. But isn't that what Facebook is about? You get likes, you get followers. But because it was about holistic living and understanding the times we were in, that we're in right now, and how you can use your spiritual energy as a baton of strength to carry you through what we feel are dark times, it was banned from Facebook. So bit by bit, you've got this control, and it's all done at arm's length. So it does feel, but it starts, I feel, within your home.
Yeah.
As a family, you find your strength in your family, and look at how, as a family, you can support each other and see things. And don't label things at that as well, because we're fed, oh, this is bad. And the problem with the media is they can make a saint look a sinner and a sinner look a saint. So
True.
you have to be really discerning. And for me, it's about when somebody's got a different viewpoint to you, thinking, okay, that's interesting, I'm going to listen because I want to hear what they've got to say. But what we tend to do is we think, no, I don't like that, so we turn it off. But then we're being blunted. And I feel that if humanity as a whole has to grow, and what we have to do is we have to look at, okay, what can we do as a family? What can we do if we live on a street, collectively in our little community? Who's like-minded? Who shares our philosophy? Where so if there's going to be a food shortage, let's share our gardens. Who's good at growing potatoes? Me. Who's good at growing cauliflowers? Me. You grow potatoes, you grow cauliflowers. I'll give you some of my potatoes, you give me a cauliflower.
Yes.
And then if we start to be self-responsible, 100% responsibility, and start building our communities, then the powers that be that want to control and limit, they're losing their power.
Yeah. So do you feel there, Jill, do you feel that humanity is ready? I mean, have you ever heard of the term the golden era or the new earth?
I have heard of that, because I think I spoke about this in the last talk we had. You've had evolution.
Yeah.
So we started with the golden age.
Yeah.
Where everything was fresh, new, and then we've had like all these different iron ages, the bronze ages, and things. We've gone as far as we can go, and now I feel that what we're going through right now is to take us back to source. We've come so far away from the ancestral traditions of being in tune with nature, being aware of how celestial skies are talking to us. We don't read stars anymore. We don't watch and realize the seasons have changed.
Yeah.
And we don't watch nature. And yet, if we go way back, that was how we knew. We planted in phase with the moon. Everything was used collectively around us, our awareness. There used to be a really good set of books, and they stopped doing them, called In Tune with the Moon. They used to do it every year, so it told you when was the right time to plant things, when it was the right time to have surgery, or even cut your hair, and things like that. But we've lost that awareness, and we've lost the simplicity of life.
Yeah.
Where all the time we've got this manic push. You got to go to work to earn money to pay bills, and it's got to the stage where I think people are waking up and thinking, well, what's the point? What is the point? What's the point in getting out of bed, going and working my backside off for a pittance to come back for the government to say thank you very much?
Yeah.
But the illusions are lifting, though, aren't they? Do you not think that, Jill? Do you not think the illusions, people are questioning?
They are questioning it, but my own personal feeling is they're questioning it, but looking at someone else to be the answer.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
You have to think, okay, I personally cannot change what legislation is going through government. But if enough people got together, if I talk in my community and say, look, I'm not happy like this, I'd like to do a protest or raise awareness in my community, and let's find how many people are struggling as well, so that as a collective, the power is in everybody coming collectively together.
Yes. People power.
But what we don't have, and I was talking about this morning, is we've lost our community. I was saying when I was little, we had nicknames for neighbours. So particularly this lovely lady at the bottom of the road, everybody on the street called her Mucky Ada because she didn't wash, and she wasn't very well educated, bless her. She was a very simple lady, and she lived with her brother who was a drunk. But if children went past her house, she'd run out and give them pennies or sixpence or threepence to go and buy some sweets. And she always took in all the stray cats. So she was your typical lady that gets portrayed in cartoons. And then up the street, we'd got Mrs. Jackson, who always thought she was cut above everybody else and looked down her nose at everybody else. And so you'd got these characters, but we knew them. Yeah. And they knew us, and they talked. But now everything is like we've got here. We've got a computer, and it's at a distance, and we're losing our connection with each other. We're not connecting with people. Everybody is walking about all the time like this. And it's got to the stage where everybody's doing their own videos and pouting and photos, and it's all look at me, look at me, look at me. No, let's look to each other. I want to know who you are. You know, come into my home, have a coffee, meet with people. And it's a little bit like Terminator. These machines are replacing us. You can see it already, and it's like the rise of Atlantis again. It is the technology is totally drawing us in, so that we are completely distracted from the power that we have within us.
I
think from the power we have to connect with spirit.
Yeah,
I think there's such a strong point, and it's that word community. I feel that. And I feel it's always, you know, in you could draw back to the aftermath of World War II, and it was the communities that got through it, coming together, sharing, and that's been forgotten a bit. And as you were speaking there, Jill, it took me back to my childhood, and I can remember not just me but my friends, and the same dynamic up every street. That's so and so at the end, and they're a bit grumpy, and that one they'll give you the shirt off the back, and you had that dynamic, but you knew, like my mum would have known that if I went out with a group of their sons or daughters, that I'd be absolutely safe and everything would be fine, and off you went. And I think that sense of community has been lost a little bit. And like you say, switching on the television to check if it's all right if we can go out and sit in the sun, you know, and it's something I just want to share, that, you know, when you talked about mobile phones, and it came to me last week that I don't know if everybody's the same, but when I was a kid and you had your one phone that was normally in the hallway, your telephone, and if it went off after like 9 o'clock at night, you'd all look at each other and go, "Who's that ringing?
Who's that? Yeah.
Who's that?" And now it's quite normal to have that open line, more or less 24/7. With various technologies, so we're not given the chance to switch off from that technology.
No, we're not. It is constant. It's constant. I once had a client ring me, well, a new client ring me at 4 a.m. from Korea, and wanted to know whether or not I could talk to their angels because they got some problems. And I said, well, I'm ever sorry. I said, but you know what time it is? Oh, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here. Oh, so sorry. I mean, in one way, we have a wider reach, but at the same time, it's the personalization of our connection with each other is going, which is why I think we're in the times that we're in.
Yeah,
the foundations that were set up were for a different time, a different way, where there was the respect, there was the connection, where we valued what we had, but now we've been fed. When we're constantly fed, you can't go on any website without adverts, you know, trying to get you to divert you to click here, and all the questions for you to accept cookies, which effectively really is, we want to track you. Can you accept so we can track you, track what you're doing? And I don't feel people have the connection with each other anymore. And I feel this is why we have what we're having. I feel everything's got to collapse.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of a medium called Gordon Higginson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Gordon, lovely, lovely guy at Arthur Findlay. He once said that there will come a time where every spiritual church closes its doors.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember him
And
saying that. I read that. Yeah.
away from spirituality, in order for it, the ashes like the phoenix to come back again.
Things
And
have
I
to
think
change.
that's where we're going, because I think people have the awareness that things aren't right, but whether or not that awareness will guide them down the spiritual path, back to community, back to what I call tribes, feeling that validation and that connection, I don't quite feel it yet. There's a lot of this woke, and I think again it's a new buzzword that we're using, and you know, oh, everybody's woke. No, I don't feel everybody is. I feel people, oh, they've got an awareness, a gut feeling, an intuitive feeling, this isn't right. But I still feel they're blind or lost, because they've not been shown or given guidance as to where they can go. I mean, right now I've got so many, because I also do coaching sessions for people that are in this business. And I have got so many clients right now saying, nobody's buying my meditations, nobody's coming for healings. I used to have, 50, 60 people on a webinar, and now I'm only getting 3 or 4 on my webinar. What's going off? And I think collectively, because everybody's so consumed with fear, they're shutting down instead of opening up.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to sort of make an observation there. You probably all, Jill and Chris, will agree. I feel, as you know, when you learn to observe, and something that me and Chris learned a few years now, when you sit and observe people, situations of the earth, I find that everything like technology and governments, they're all trying to keep us in the mind. And in a lot of our work, it's about not, we need the mind for logic and things like that, part of our sensory experience, but keeping us in the heart. And a lot of our work, it's about reconnecting back to nature, reconnecting back to spirit in its most simplest of terms. That's what all this work's about. And too many trying to keep us in this mind. And talking about, I'm on very, very big, Jill, on words. That words are like magic. They're black magic. They can be black magic or white magic. Now look at the word cell phone. Cell, prison, phone. Look at program, television. It's conditioning. A program is to condition us. So the words are there. Once you observe, they're there. And
And that's why I think it's important to switch off. I had a week where I came completely away from everything, and I left my phone on charge, and I just didn't answer it. And that week I felt so much more relaxed. And it was lovely, absolutely lovely. I mean, it's a beautiful sky out where I am tonight, and funny enough, with my friend today, Ian, we were talking about how we've got too much choice. Again, that's separating community, because whereas in the old days you had BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and then at a push Channel 4, all of us would say, oh, did you see that program last night? That brought us together. But
Yeah.
now there's so many, I mean, my son upstairs is on YouTube. My other son downstairs is probably on Netflix. So there's nothing in common.
Yeah, we're overloaded with
We're
choice that way.
overloaded. And because I mean, I tend to read at night because I got to the stage where I thought, seen that, and the new things I'm not really relating to. The new films, I don't seem to be able to relate to them. It all seems, I don't know, contrived, not believable. And I think, no, I'm going to read.
Yes.
But again, whereas before, like I said, as a family, you all sat around one little box and then you chat about that program and share your views and laugh about things and maybe debate things. We don't have that now. Everybody's in their own little room on their own little gadget doing their own thing, and we're all excommunicated.
Yeah.
And we've now got children who have, to keep them quiet, have an iPad put in front of them. Whereas before, I mean, when I was a child, I was with grandma or granddad. When granddad would be taking me around the garden, telling me all the different plants and what it was used for. And my granddad could sit and tell you what bird that was. But I think today we've tuned out nature. We're not connected to nature very often.
But things need to fall though, Jill, like in the tarot card, the big tower, the falling tower, things. And I think that's where the angels, again, the guides, angels, they come in to assist. And a lot of us have come back. I'm sure, Jill, more than anybody, you're part of your divine purpose. It is part of your amazing spiritual work is to create that foundation.
It's bringing that awareness.
Yes.
If you, sorry to interrupt.
No.
All of us here, I feel, have a responsibility to keep the awareness going.
Yes. Yeah.
And I trust that spirit will send to me who needs to come. I'm not, I'm not worried that some other clairvoyant psychic down the road's getting all the customers. Whoever, they'll come to me if they're meant to come to me. But meanwhile, what I do is hold that space. I put out the awareness. I put out the channelings every day. I do an angel reading that's with the hope from and help from angels to inspire, to motivate, to uplift, and to help people just come back to self, come back to soul, and be aware of how am I feeling? What are my energies like today? So that you start to build and keep that vibration stronger. And I feel this is where it's so important to work with angels, because they do keep your energies topped up. They keep you and give you the strength to keep going.
Yeah, which is really
important. That's very important now, more than ever, isn't it, Chris? We need that support, that loving support.
Yeah, I feel, as I said a little bit earlier, that something I really tried to put across the best I could during we'll call it the lockdown era, was that nobody is on their own ever. And that if we're able to look and accept that, and I feel even just putting that out there, saying those words, you can feel spirit draw around, you can feel the energy, because you're immediately recognizing that energy. No, I'm not on my own. And there are a lot of what you said there about programming, and particularly some television programs there, Jill, that I've found myself, I don't watch an awful lot. But when I do, I can almost sense when there's a narrative in, like weaved, that's trying to tell me something else within the story. And it's only something I've been aware of, in honesty, about the last 6 months, but I can feel it and I'll actually switch it off and I'll move to something else. Like, this is trying to weave something into me. So that awareness that we can get from our guides, angels, inspirers around us will help us to navigate to what we need and what we don't need.
I did a tarot. I pulled tarot, as every day I pull tarot cards for myself. And sometimes if there's nothing really a pressing question, I normally ask spirit, how can I let more light in?
Yeah.
How can so I normally shuffle my cards. How can I let more light in? And the answer that I got today was go out into nature, garden, connect with plants, connect with the soil, ground yourself, and feel your connection. And I think that's another important aspect of what we do. We help ground people and bring them and keep their awareness of bringing and having some form of spiritual compass to guide you through the life that you're going
Yeah, and
through.
I feel that. So, no, again, to pick up on a point you mentioned earlier, that all our roles as whatever we want to call it, light workers, messengers, that we're all playing that role best we can and just being there for people. And something you said earlier about that's something I've always felt. There's no competition in this work. It's
So
ridiculous.
true.
It's very simple. There's people for people. So there's people, myself and Stephen work together under the same banner, if you will. And I always say, if you're drawn to Stephen for a reason, that is for a reason.
Yeah.
Go with Stephen. Don't worry. We don't worry about that sort of thing because there's
Never.
people. And I feel that's so very important. And again, another point you made, we've just actually had a little bit of a break, myself and Stephen. And sometimes it's hard to do in this work. I know,
It
I'm
is.
sure you can resonate, but I feel that's why it's interesting when you said that. And I thought, oh, that's the same as us. So I feel we're being inspired here. Look after yourselves because there's a lot more work to do. Your role's going to be important. And that's for the many more out there.
Also, as well, the way in which we work is changing as well.
Yeah.
And I feel that's because during COVID, you had a lot of people come in pretending to be clairvoyants and psychics to earn money.
Yes.
Again, I feel what they're doing is they're breaking it down for the transparency, and the ones that are still holding the energy are the ones that will remain, and they will then become the beacons to carry everybody forward.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you a question there, Jill. Two questions actually. I know we're coming to time here. Is do you feel that angels have reincarnated into a physical body, human form before?
No.
Right. Okay.
No. As I understand it, they can condense their energies for a short while.
Yeah.
But because they're such a higher vibration, they wouldn't be able to sustain a physical body. Just as right now we couldn't sustain a really high frequency. If you think of it as in sound, this is how Metatron said to me. If you think about it in sound, you've got a bandwidth that you can hear on.
Yes.
But if somebody starts to play a high pitched sound, and it gets higher and higher, and you think, oh God, it's painful. That is effectively what he's trying to say with their when they're changing their vibration. They can lower it for a while and they can hold that, but not for very long.
Yeah.
Just enough to do, whether it's to make that reassurance by appearing as a physical manifestation, or to come in, let's say, to push somebody out of the way of a truck that's coming in front of them. They'll do that, but it's only for a brief, short period. They're not wandering around, and I think this is why it's confusing, because again, when you give spirit and God human tendencies and you make them like humans, you limit your understanding of them, you limit their potential.
Very,
Yeah.
very true. Very simple the way you
That's
said
so
it, Jill.
true, yeah.
Wow, amazing. Yeah.
So if you see it as a source of energy, just like your oxygen is your source of energy, we don't think about it, but you're surrounded by it. So let's say angels are like oxygen. You breathe them, work with them, bring them in, talk to them, talk to this infinite intelligence. It will answer you back in some form, whether it leaves you a feather, whether it starts flashing angel numbers at you, like 2222, 1111. any of those sort of things, you will see a synchronicity. But the thing is, again, is though, once you've got that, don't keep asking. Don't keep doubting.
Yeah.
If you've seen it once, let it be enough and embrace it.
Oh yeah.
Jill.
You know, oh, you just do me this. I'll believe you if I see a deer. I'll believe it if I hear so and so. Stop. Let it be just
But do you not think, though, Jill, something that one of the mediums said a long time ago? He said, to a skeptic, there will be never enough proof. It comes down to your faith as well, your belief in your faith. But you sort of answered my other question there, because I wanted to ask you a personal question,
Yeah,
and
that's
which might inspire other people, because the past 12 months, I am not kidding you, I'm always seeing, I say it to my partner, he went, this is really weird now. I mean, the other day I went to the petrol station, I looked at my clock, 11. And then and I went, put petrol in my car. And I looked up, number 11. And then it's literally 3 or 4 times every single day. So what do you think the angels are trying to say? I'm listening.
right.
I have faith. I know what they're saying.
Right. Okay. Well, when you get double numbers, it's double energy. All right. So ones is about stepping into leadership. It's time to step up to the mark.
Right.
And ones are you're never going to blend in. You're never going to be, if in some sense, part of the group, because you're meant to be leading the group.
Right.
So when you're seeing 111, what they're trying to alert you, when you're seeing that number on a subconscious level and on a soul level, it's like a key. It's unlocking the next step for you.
Right. Okay.
And then it's, so first of all, you start to get the awareness of the 111. So because you'll have been seeing that subconsciously, but it won't have registered for a while. So then that clicks in, and then your awareness. Then that makes you want to think, well, why am I seeing that? So now the awareness is now questioning, it's seeking, and we're here to seek knowledge. We're here to open up. So you're opening up and thinking, well, what is it meaning? So again, with the one, there is something at the moment that you've been putting off doing, or you used to do but haven't done it, and you need to now bring it back in, and because it's going to lead the way.
Yeah, spot on there.
So use your entrepreneurial spirit, but also as well, 111 is about listen to your gut. You could be ignoring your gut.
Well, that's interesting, that, because I've been having some stomach problems. So yeah, it's all coming together. Thank you, Jill. Thank you.
so yeah, what aspect? What is it I'm not acknowledging? What is it I'm not hearing? Because if you remember, I'm pretty certain in our last talk, I said to you, it comes up, and if you ignore it, the body's talking to us all the time. It'll come up a bit bigger and a bit bigger. And then if you still don't listen, and you're still not attuning to your body, then you're going to get like you've got a stomach upset, or you put your back out. So it's about, what is it? There's something, when it's your stomach, they've just said to me, there's something you're not willing to digest. So there's something either you've got to do, or you feel you ought to do it, but it's not sitting with you. You don't feel you want to do it.
Yeah, I know where that is.
So when you do it, again, talking about the fear, once you've done it, it's out of the way, you can move on. But you have to do it. You said you'd do it. You've got to do it.
Yeah, that's part of my divine purpose, and something me and Chris, we probably can all relate to. You know, once those doors are open, once we laugh about it, sign that contract and say, yes, I'm making that commitment. is a lifelong commitment. Is that you can't go back. It's the choices that I've decided to have, and me and Chris feel very much the same on what we're doing. So thank you very much, Jill. That was my last question to you. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic talk. As I said at the beginning, we've not done one for a little while. We had a bit of a break, but it's what a great way to start. And I'd love to do some more in the future, Jill, as well. I feel like
well, if you want to go through the numbers, we could do some angel numbers, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's set
So
the course for that.
If you are getting ones, but also as well, are you aware that we all have an angel vibration?
Yeah,
So
sort of. I don't know too much about that.
Right.
Yeah.
If you know your angel vibration, then that helps you know some of the soul missions that you've come into this life to have, but it also as well will show you some of the soul skills that you've already got that maybe you're not utilizing.
Wow, so I think that's what they call now like a spoiler for our next episode with you. It's a little breadcrumb. But thank you so much, Jill. Thank you for giving your time so freely. It's appreciated because we know you're very, very busy, getting on with this work and getting on with, your journey.
Yeah, I've got 2 contracts in Japan. I've just been picked up to work in Syria.
Wow.
As well as the other. I mean, I'm everywhere and anywhere. But it's just raising that awareness, just helping where I can, and if it adds a spark and it brings a little bit of joy to you, then that's all good for me.
Yeah, fantastic.
So no, it's been a pleasure to have a chat tonight.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And if anybody listening or watching and you're interested in connecting with Jill, I know she's got her angelmessenger.co.uk, but we'll place all relevant links.
The other thing they can always do as well, Chris, is maybe email you some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any questions,
we could do that. And
if you visit us, you'll see the purplemountain.co.uk, and there's actually a live chat on there where you can go on and click on the chat, so you could send us questions direct. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you can maybe ask a few of those out next time after we've had a chat.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be wonderful. I love that idea. It's just growing and growing. This. So thank you so much, Jill. And have a wonderful week, whatever you've got planned ahead. Thank you so much to everybody listening. Thank you, Stephen. Trying to check you still watching. And
it's been amazing.
Yeah, lots of love from everybody at the Purple Mountain, and we'll speak to everybody really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.